Dear Daily News Report viewers, after watching this video, you can reach the video we shared previously by clicking on the top right button. The main topic of the previous video was about economic collapse. We recommend watching, subscribing, and sharing. Thanks in advance. Most US states see tax revenues collapsed completely during this COVID-19 outbreak, and some are already begging the federal government for bailout money. Because if dramatic intervention does not take place, many states will have to start brutally reducing their spending, which can mean unprecedented job losses at the state government level. Typically, state government bureaucrats are above average salaries, and these jobs often come with very nice utility packages. Once these jobs are eliminated, they will not be easy to replace. Tax income figures that are beginning to enter are not shocking. Just consider these examples. Georgia is showing a decline of more than $100 million in sales tax, fuel tax, and other tax revenue compared with the same period a year ago. Tennessee's tax revenue is down more than $120 million. Pennsylvania's is off by more $760 million, and Texas, which also has been hammered by the downturn in oil prices, has seen tax collections plummet by nearly $1 billion. And New Jersey officials reported that tax revenues in their state fell 60% in April compared to a year ago. These are unprecedented numbers and open gaps in state budgets across the country. Colorado faces a gap of nearly a quarter of the state's general budget. The projected gap in California is more than a fifth of its spending plan, and in Oklahoma is sixth. The governor of Oregon is preparing to cut 17% of her budget. Michigan may have to slash up to a quarter of the money it sends to schools. And what's really scary is that this new economic crisis is only a few months old. How will things look when we are on the road for a few more months? Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, has already said that his condition is so bad a $61 billion federal bailout is required. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said his state needs $61 billion in federal support, or we will wind up aggravating the situation by forcing cuts to local governments. You know who local governments are. That's police, firefighters. You want me to cut hospitals? Hospitals are the nurses and the doctors who just got us through this, and everyone celebrates as heroes. If you don't fund the state, that's who you're cutting in terms of finances. Of course, we have entered a time when literally everyone will be begging the federal government for money. And as I discussed yesterday, all reckless borrowing and spending by the federal government will definitely ruin the value of our money. However, most of our politicians are not really concerned about the value of the United States dollar at this point. They just want to revive the cash machine and try to fix our sinking ship. Another thing to consider is that public pension plans around the country address major issues. In fact, United States public retirement plans recorded the worst quarter ever. Public pension plans lost a median 13.2% in the 3 months ended March 31, according to Wilshire Trust Universe Comparison Service data released Tuesday. slightly more than in the fourth quarter of 2008. March's stock market plummet led to the biggest one-quarter drop in the 40 years the firm has been tracking. It was a horrible quarter for all public funds, said Chicago Teachers Pension Fund Investment Chief Angela Miller May. This was a crisis that occurred even before the appearance of COVID-19, and now many of these plans will face a very, very serious problem. This is one of the reasons why authorities are so desperate to support the stock market. Retirement plans have poured a lot of money into stocks in recent years and have worked well during these boom years. But now that a new economic crisis has come, this will be a disaster strategy. Meanwhile, we keep getting worse economic news every day. On Wednesday, we learned that Steak Shah and Shake will permanently close more than 50 locations. The restaurant Steak and Shake has announced the decision to permanently close at least 51 of its restaurant locations nationwide. The move comes amid growing worry about the COVID-19 outbreak and its damage on the company's financial future. Biglari Holdings announced in its first quarter report that Steak and Shake's revenue has dropped $59 million compared to the same time last year because of a decrease in demand. For those who score at home, these are more jobs that will never return. But I definitely cannot blame Steak and Shake to close restaurants. In some parts of the country, social distance restrictions will remain in place for months, and fear of coronavirus will keep a large number of customers away after all restrictions are finally lifted. Some industries will have to admit that we have entered a new economic reality, and business models will have to change fundamentally. For example, the International Air Transport Association has been predicting lower levels of air travel for at least the next 5 years. Demand for air travel will lag behind pre-coronavirus forecasts for at least 5 more years, according to the latest projections from the International Air Transport Association. Global traffic, or the number of passengers carried times the distance flown, will still be about 10% below original estimates in 2025, Brian Pierce, the trade group's chief economist, said in a media briefing Wednesday. I was shocked when I first read this, but the speed of an economic death spiral can be so fast. Fear of coronavirus paralyzes economic demand, which causes businesses across America to fail. When more jobs fail, this creates even more economic fear, and lenders get tightened with their money. I hope we can finally get out of this cycle of fear, but of course, this perfect storm we are facing now is still only in the very early episodes. At some point, this coronavirus pandemic will disappear, but will not escape the consequences of extremely stupid decisions for decades. These decisions have paved the way for the biggest economic crisis in our history, and now we're starting to watch this crisis appear daily before our eyes. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is wise to consult an expert before making this decision.